Hi, welcome to the training video for the HAKO B30 Scrubber Dryer. The Scrubber Dryer scrubs and dries the floor. In the bottom tank here is clean water. The machine will put the clean water down onto the scrubbing brush or pad on the front, and that will scrub the floor. And as the machine moves forward, the dirty water comes to the back here, where this rubber squeegee blade will collect the water and put it up into the dirty water tank at the top of the machine. So before we use the machine, we need to put some clean water into the clean water tank. On this machine, you put the clean water in this filler cap here. There's a filter in there to stop bits of dirt and things getting into the clean water tank. You can remove this to give it a clean. It's advised to keep it with the machine. If you do get bits of dirt in there, there is a risk that they could get down into the pipework and then cause blockages later on. Now it says on the side of the filler cap here, maximum temperature 50 degrees C. It's very important not to put hot water into this machine. Hot water over 65 degrees will create limescale. So if you put hot water into this tank, and then you'll have limescale problems coming into the tank, and that limescale will eventually flake off, fall down into the pipework, and again cause you blockages. So you want to avoid having any hot water in there, which will give you limescale problems later. So it's just cold water. The machine will actually scrub and clean the floor with the power of the machine and any chemical. It doesn't need heat in a scrubber dryer to help clean. There's a filter just down here underneath the clean water tank. So if any bits of debris or anything do get into the system, there's a mesh filter inside here which will hopefully catch that and then protect the pipework. You can simply unscrew this and then drain out the dirt and the water and the filter, give it a rinse, and then put that back on again. So if you find you have problems with water flow, just simply take that off, rinse it out and put it back on again. So that's the clean water system. Okay, so we've got clean water in the clean water tank and we're ready to start scrubbing. As we move along, the dirty water is going to come down to the back here where this squeegee unit is. This is a vacuum hose which will suck the water up into the tank. If I just remove this hose and then undo these two yellow ring nuts here, we can remove this squeegee bar. And then as you can see, it has these two rubber squeegee blades. The front one allows the water to pass through, and the back one will capture any dirt and water in this channel here, where it'll then get vacuumed up through this hole. This squeegee blade has a nice sharp edge, and as long as it has a good sharp edge and it's clean, it will leave a nice perfectly dry floor behind the machine. If you find that you're getting streaks behind the machine, it's probably because dirt, as you can see, dirt does gather in here, and this will, if you get little bits stuck on here, may cause water to seep through and then you'll end up with streaks. When you're using the machine, if you do find it streaking, simply just lift this up slightly underneath here, get a cloth and just wipe along the inside of that edge, and that should help the streaks to go away. You get 4 good edges with one of these squeegee blades, so there's a nice sharp edge here now. When this wears out to about halfway, then you can flip this blade around the other way and use this sharp edge, and then you've also got 2 more sharp edges on the top. To change the blade, simply move this little lever here, flip this catch open, and then take that off, like so. And then we simply squeeze the black part here and slide that off the end, and now we can remove the metal strips, and then we can take off the rubber blade. And we can either turn it over or we can turn it around to get the good edges. I'll pop that one back on. Same with the front, have a catch here, and at this point we can change this front blade around if we need to as well. So we put the squeegee blade bar back onto the machine, lift it up, tighten these up again, and then that's all ready to go. Pop the hose back on. Now the dirty water, as I say, is going to come up through this hose, and then it's going to go into this top tank, and you access the top tank through the lid here. This will be where all the dirty water comes into, so you get in there, it's dirty, and you can actually get access in here to give it a clean around once you've drained all the dirty water out. There's a ping pong ball in here inside a filter, And the reason that's there, if this fills up with water, the ping pong ball will lift up and it will shut off this hole here. Now the other end of this pipe is the vacuum motor. So you don't want water getting down there and going into your vacuum motor. So that ping pong ball will lift up when this fills with water, and it will stop water from being able to get into your motor. Very important, don't take that off and throw it away, otherwise you're going to have problems with your vacuum motor. When you're using chemical in scrubber dryers, it's very important just to use a low foaming chemical. If you use something like a washing up liquid, which is going to cause lots of bubbles and foam, that foam will be created and built up in here, and then it won't lift that ping pong ball up. What it will instead do is just get sucked straight down into the vac motor, and again you're going to have problems with your vac motor will eventually go rusty, and then the bearings will go in it, and then you'll have a knackered vac motor. So it's very important, only use low foaming chemical, possibly even no chemical if you don't need to. The other thing just to check while you're in here is that this rubber seal here is all nice and clean and creating a good seal. If you find it's not sucking very well, sometimes you might get a stone or something caught in here and it's not sealing properly. To drain the tank, this hose here comes straight out of the bottom of the tank, simply twist the cap comes off, and then you can drain that into a drain or a toilet. Pop the cap back on when you're finished. This cap must be on when you're using the machine, otherwise air can get into here and you don't get any vacuum inside the tank. So make sure this cap is always on tight when you're using the machine. Another thing, if you find you're not getting very good suction, check this cap's on. So that hooks onto there. On the other side here, you've got a slightly smaller, thinner hose, and this is the drain hose for the clean water tank. So this just pops off there, and this can be used to drain out the clean water tank. Quite useful, once a week. Give the clean water tank a drain, a flush through, just to make sure you've not got any soap or anything building up in there, and that will just keep that tank nice and clean and fresh. You don't want to get anything dirty into that clean water tank if you can help it. Okay, so to use the machine, there is a simple control panel here on the back. On the bottom here, simple on and off switch, and then above it you have the brush removal switch. So if we switch the machine on, you'll hear the vac motor run. This is just indicating how many hours the machine has run for. And here you have a brush removal symbol. So to remove the brush off the front of the machine, there's currently a pad holder with a pad sitting under the front. I'm going to hold this button down here for a few seconds and you will see the indicator up here counting down. When it finished counting down, then it will flick the brush off of the front. So if I just show you, see that's counting down. When that got to the bottom, it would throw the brush off the front. So if you look at the brush at the front now, I'll hold the button down and you see it's kicked the brush off. So that's how to remove the brush off the front of the machine. Now you can have either a brush or a pad with this machine. Pads are better on a smooth floor. A floor like this will always clean better with a pad. You can get different grades of pads. Usually the lighter the colour, the softer the pad, and the darker the colour, the rougher the pad. This is a medium scrubbing pad in the blue, suitable for most floors. If your floor surface is a rough area or it has anything in it that might tear up a pad, then brushes would be more suitable for use on that floor. You can get different grades of brushes, normally softer, medium or abrasive. So this is with the pad on. To change the pad, simply remove this centre piece in the front here and then you can take the pad off. You can change it for a new pad, you can turn it upside down if it's got particularly bad on one side, and then you can always rinse pads out underneath the tap and give them a clean and reuse them, usually until they wear down. They can go down to half as thick as that and then you need to change it. If you let it go too far down, the little plastic studs in here that are holding this in place might touch the floor and they will wear out. So it's important not to allow the pad to go right the way down so that these can get damaged. So I just simply push this back onto here, it fits back in place. That holds the pad on, and I can just pop that on the floor under the machine there. And then I just position the head over the top of that. And with the pedal on the floor down here at the back, which I'll come to in a moment, I'm just going to lower that down over the brush. and then I can simply start to use the machine, and that will then kick the pad into place, ready for use. So the foot pedal just down here, push it down, lock it to the left hand side, and that has now lifted the brush up off of the floor. So lower the brush onto the floor, put the pedal down, move to the right hand side, let it go up, and now the pad or the brush is sat on the floor ready for use. So simple operation just with this pedal here, lifts and lowers the brush. So to use the machine, we've now got a pad sat on the front, we've put clean water into this tank here, we've checked that the squeegee is all nice and clean, and then we're ready to use the machine. On this side here there is a water tap. In the up position there the water's switched off, so no water can flow out. In the down position there it's fully on, so the water can gush out. What you want to do is find a position as you're using the machine, somewhere in the middle probably, a bit like a tap at home. It will just, that's no water, a little bit of water, more water, loads of water. So you want to find the nice happy point where it's cleaning the floor sufficiently, but you're not having to keep refilling the tank every few minutes because there's too much coming out. So that's how to set the water. So we're going to switch the machine on using the on button. That's now running the vacuum on the machine, and by turning this lever here we lower that squeegee rubber onto the floor. So when we move the machine forward now, that's actually on the floor sucking up. I can then lower the pedal, which puts the pad down onto the floor, and then I squeeze the trigger up here, which now gets the brush spinning. Now the brush is slightly offset at an angle, so the angle with the spinning brush actually causes it to draw the machine forward, so you're not having to push the machine hard to get it to go. It's kind of pulling itself forward along a bit, and you're literally just walking with it, just assisting it and steering it. So if you look just down at the front here, you can see the water coming out from the brush, spraying out to the side, and then as I push it forward there, it goes back to the squeegee bar catches it and sucks it up. And that is washing and drying the floor. Okay. Now if we've got some really stubborn dirt that just doesn't want to come off the floor, what we can do is lift this rubber squeegee off of the floor so it's not sucking up the water, and we can just run the scrubbing brush on the floor where the bad area is, and we can keep scrubbing it for a little while. Depends how big your area is, you might want to clean a whole area like this. And you can allow, especially if you have chemical in it, allow it to soak into the floor a bit. So you're letting the chemical do its work, you're letting the scrubbing pad or brush do its work. So this is for a really good deep clean if you've got some really stubborn dirt. Just let the machine just keep on scrubbing, keep on cleaning the floor. And then I'll turn the water down on here now so I don't flood the area. And then what I'll do is lower this rubber squeegee back down, and then we can go around and pick all that water up. Okay, so that's now tackled some real dirty, really ground in dirt. So now we can stop, switch off the machine, lift that back up, lift the squeegee back up, and we can now take the machine over to a drain, because in here now you'll see there's dirty water collected. Just open this and let you come and have a look. That's where the dirty water is now collected, and that can simply drain out of the drain hose at the back into a drain. Okay, so now I've emptied out the clean water tank there with a hose, giving it a good rinse around, get all the dirt out. You don't want to let dirt fester in that tank because it will smell. So when you're finished using it, while it's still fresh, while it's still wet, drain it out, give it a rinse around with a hose. On the side here, you'll notice there's this power cable with a plug on the end. which is plugged into the side of the machine. This is for the built-in charger. So we simply take this to any plug socket on the wall, plug it in, and then the machine will automatically charge itself. The indicator for the charge is here, so when it starts charging, the lower light will be lit, and that will build up until it reaches the top light, and that's green. Then you know the machine's all charged and ready to use. Very important, as a safety feature, this machine will not work, switch it on, won't do anything, when this plug is out of the machine. So to get the machine to operate, make sure this plug is plugged in to the side of the machine here. Once that's in, switch it on, and we've got the machine operating again. That's the basic course of how to use this machine. Only other couple of features I might just mention. One is you've got a gel set of batteries in this machine. Some machines you may have wet batteries fitted into them. As standard, these come with gel batteries, which are maintenance free, so you don't need to worry about the batteries. They're sealed, they're gel, there's nothing there for you to look at. If you do have wet batteries in one of these machines, then it's very important that about once a week or so you just pop open the caps, make sure the water level is about a centimetre above the metal plates that you can see through the holes. So distilled water, just keep them topped up, don't let them dry out if you've got the acid batteries in there. This bolt here on the front, you need a spanner to adjust it, so possibly an engineer to do this, but if you're quite happy to do it yourself and you have a spanner, moving this bracket up and down that bolt there will adjust the angle of the head, and that will adjust how hard the machine pulls itself along. So if you find you're having to push it a bit to use it, adjusting this bolt here will adjust how hard the machine drives itself, so it makes you go a little bit faster. You might find some cases, if you're in a Porsche showroom, you really don't want that going too fast and running into cars, so you can adjust it there and just get that balance just nice. So it's nice and easy just to walk along with. General maintenance, just keep the machine generally nice and clean. And that concludes the training video for the HAKO B30.